Alright, it's not done. Get out. Get away!
Another thing I found kind of shocking was the radiation.
Hero has only +1.5.
Yeah.
Stop putting it back in the fire then.
Never!
That was the standard for the day, with regardless
I
of
wouldn't.
where you went for your treatment. Pretty much was that the doctors would take tubes of radioactive material called radium and literally sew the tubes to the surface of the cervix. They would put them in little pouches, and first they would stick a few tubes up inside the cervix, and then they would sew the pouches full of these tubes to the outside, and they would leave them there for a few days, just sort of emitting radioactive material inside of it. And this is the kind of stuff where it's the radioactive material.
You could stop fire out, isn't
It's
that
that kind of radioactive material. And so it would essentially burn off the cancer. And then they would remove the tubes.
Burn off the cancer with radiation.
Was this a standard procedure then, or is this considered experimental? Absolutely standard. And this is one of the interesting things. It's sort of an important point in the history of Henrietta Lacks. Her story has often been held up as one of these sort of awful white doctors who did these really kind of vicious treatments to her and stole her cells without telling her because they knew they'd be valuable. And that really wasn't the case at all. They were taking cervical cancer tissues from anyone who walked into Hopkins with cervical cancer. And this was absolutely the standard treatment, and in fact, it was considered the sort of top of the line. But, there are other questions about this was a colored ward. This was the Jim Crow era. The reason she was at Hopkins in the first place was because she was black, and there were not really many other hospitals around where she could have gotten treated. She also had no money, and Hopkins was a charity hospital, so she was in the public wards. And, there have been plenty of studies that have looked at how segregation affected healthcare delivery. So she did get the standard care of the day.
I'm just gonna
but she was definitely sent home
stomp that thing on the ground
times,
real quick.
After her radiation treatment, she came back complaining of various things. Was sent home and sent home and sent home until she eventually refused to go home and said, no, put me in the
catching the
hospital.
ground on fire.
And at that point, her cancer had spread so much, and there probably wasn't anything the doctors could have done either way. But the question of how
back at it
is a hard one to answer.
On fire.
So you were able to tell this story about Henrietta Lacks, her cancer.
I thought it was a dude last time.
How her cells were used scientifically. In part because
This
you met
interview.
members of
No.
once you decided that you were fascinated by the story, you tracked down the Lacks family. Of course, Henrietta Lacks was dead, but her daughter, Deborah, was alive. So how
She's
did
not
you
dead. She lives on forever in science.
And how old was she when
Yeah, eventually they're gonna clone her.
She was in her early 50s when I finally got in touch with her.
I'm waiting to
and
see the woolly mammoth.
She was very hard
they
to
make
find and
Japan.
realized later because she didn't want to.
I hope that the
But
woolly
I
mammoth
eventually tracked down a
escapes out of its
scientist
cage
Yes.
and eats
her contact
all the people
information,
there.
essentially.
Yes,
And
because that's what woolly mammoths.
Hey, we don't know that yet.
At that point, he had
They might.
done anything to sort of thank the family. For,
Turns out they're
for
super annoying, and that's why humans killed them off all those years ago.
for about 3 days over the phone.
We just
Just to
endlessly
find
talk
out what
when we
my
don't want them
intentions
to.
were, and to basically see if I was someone
Which is
who
really,
wanted to
really
put in touch
bad
with the family.
conversation.
As opposed to what? Were they used to people getting in touch with them for questionable reasons?
Yeah,
I think
well, I mean, I didn't know it
poking
at the time,
logs
but
with sticks
I
should
came
just
along
be
in the
your
90s,
voices
and at that
and
point, I
the
was
logs.
just another of a very
They won't
long
see
line
you.
of
So then we could get
white
celebrities
people
on here
who
and just
wanted
do
something
celebrity
having to do with
voices.
the cells. So scientists coming
Exactly.
saying, "We want to take samples from you to do research to learn more about the cells." Journalists coming and wanting to, essentially tell the same story over and over and over again. And the reason why it was so important to the family is because no one ever told them anything.
It'd be like the fireplace video,
First time the
except
family
more
heard about the
interesting.
cells.
Slightly.
25 years after.
Slightly more interesting.
And the way they learned about it
the stick's on fire.
was a scientist wanting to do research.
Pants me like they're about to be on
to
fire.
learn about HeLa cells.
I just felt
Yeah,
a
This was in the very
raindrop.
early days of gene mapping, and they thought if they could take some
Keep
samples from her kids,
I
they
felt
could use
another
their
one.
genes to study HeLa cells more.
My hat fell down.
Henrietta's husband had a third-grade education. He didn't know what a cell
Yeah, I
was.
felt one on my way
And
to
he
the
got this
bathroom.
phone call one day, and the way he understood it was essentially, we've got your wife.
So, what's
She's
the
alive
no-go
in
on the
laboratory.
hammock?
We've been doing research on her for the last 25 years, and now we have to test your kids to see if they have cancer. Which wasn't what the scientist said, but the scientist said we need to look at your HLA markers and your this and your that, and he had no idea what the science was. He actually, to him, the only cell he'd ever heard of was the the kind in the jail where one of his sons was at that point. And Deborah
Wow.
was in her 20s, and she had feared her 30th birthday her entire life because she knew her mother died at 30, in her 30s, or she was diagnosed at 30, died at 31. So she knew her mother died right around 30, and she figured the same thing would happen to her. No one had told her why her mom died, so it made perfect sense.